was a book that came out in 2023 called What Makes Us Human. And this book is an interview about all of the big questions about being human. Why are we alive? What is our purpose? What are the things that matter the most? Now, this interview was with ChatGPT. How many of you know what ChatGPT is? If you don't, ChatGPT is really, it's an artificial intelligence, it's AI, and it's an AI that specifically utilizes language. So you can give this AI all kinds of information, and it can synthesize that information. So with this book, a poet and a technology expert, they fed it all kinds of religious texts, philosophical texts, they fed it sacred poetry, song lyrics. They gave it gigabytes and gigabytes of all of this work that has meant so much to humans throughout history. And it's interesting, I just wonder, when else in history have we had the opportunity to have a tool, to have something that can assist us in synthesizing so much information? So we're at this really unique point in history, and what they found in this book, what they found when having these conversations about what matters most, given all of that information that they fed it, all of that sacred information, here's what they found. If there is one theme that emerged again and again from our questions, from the answers, from the vast troves of sacred data the AI was analyzing, it was this: love. Love is everything. It is the most divine gift we have. When we give it away, we are given more of it. When we come back to it in the present moment, we are in heaven. The meaning of everything is love. That is what the entire record of humanity drills down to. It's all about love. So this is the contributors, Iain Thomas, Jasmine Wang, and of course our friend GPT-3. And what's so interesting is what we're seeing here is that we're given this Cliff Notes version of all of the great sacred texts, all of the great traditions, and it really boils down to one word: love. Now, you might be sitting here today thinking, I don't need AI to tell me that love is important. And yet when we look at our world today, we look at the conflict and the struggle and the isolation, sometimes love is the last thing that we think of. Sometimes it feels like, is love more of an ideal than a reality that we can experience? And if we want to know the answer to that, we actually have to define, what are we talking about when we talk about love? See, as Kathleen mentioned, we can mean a lot of different things by that word. I might say, I love my family and I love sushi. And yet, while I might be correct grammatically in saying both of those things, they don't mean the exact same thing, because the truth is, there's only one of those things that I couldn't live without, and that's sushi. Now, love is a word we overuse, right? We seem to just kind of throw it out there all the time. It can also be a word we underuse. Sometimes we haven't said I love you to some of the people that matter most to us. And sometimes we get fixated on very narrow definitions, like the media and entertainment seems to really fixate on this idea of romantic love, which I think we can see as being true based on the very existence of something called the Hallmark Channel. When else has a greeting card company, which really is like just a paper good, if you think about it. When does a paper good transition into a television network? I don't know. Pretty incredible. But see, when we're talking about love, we're talking about something that, yes, maybe includes romantic love, but it also transcends and includes. And specifically here at this community, if you're new, our motto here at Aldea is love, period. We believe that love is not just something that you can experience in moments, but it's a way of being in the world. Irvin Yalom, who is the emeritus professor of psychiatry at Stanford, has this beautiful take on love. Love is not just a passion spark between two people. There is infinite difference between falling in love and standing in love. Rather, love is a way of being, a giving to, not a falling for, a mode of relating at large, not an act limited to a single person. Now, if you're like me, and you've gone on a spiritual journey. Maybe you've questioned your beliefs. Maybe you've traded some out over time. And yet, maybe you're like me and there's one thing that's remained a constant for you in your different moments of doubt and deconstruction. And that constant was love. That if nothing else, love was an anchor. Love was a sense of spiritual grounding. Maybe love was what even helped reconnect you to, say, Jesus. Maybe in a loss of faith and a regaining of faith, it was love. It was that context of love where you could say, when I look at Jesus through the lens of love, I'm more connected than ever to his words and his way of being in the world. Many of us were probably taught through religion or through just different ways of life that, we're given this understanding of the world. Yes, love is important, but we know the right path. And that's how you love people, is you get them on the right path. And so often we're taught that there are certain people or certain groups that really, they have a monopoly on love. See, what we like to do here is we like to embrace diversity and embrace different opinions on things because it expands our view. And so throughout this series, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at love, but we're going to explore it through some different lenses in hopes that it will expand our view. I think it can be an incredibly beautiful thing when we're shown an idea or a concept that maybe challenges our own understanding. Maybe you're going to hear some things throughout this series that you would say, I didn't think about it that way, or maybe I'm not even sure yet if I agree with that. But there's no better way to understand what matters most to you and to embrace your own core values than to entertain ideas that might be different for you. Because when it comes to love, there is no one correct answer. So to have this conversation, I brought some friends with me. And so on my left, we have Don, who was a minister in the Methodist denomination for 29 years and led 10 different churches. So you got started around the time that I was born. So so we have that in common. Then to Don's left, we have Arlene, who has extensive experience leading mindfulness-based stress reduction, and she's also leading our newcomers small group. So that friendly face, if you're a newcomer, that friendly face will be your leader. So, and then to her left is Helga. Helga is many things, and she's been a source of spiritual wisdom to so many of us who have the pleasure of knowing her, and she also is the leader of our oneness group. So if that's the group that you're interested in, here's Helga. And so they're going to be helping me flesh out this concept of love today. And I'm going to start with Don. Don, who is your minister in the Methodist Church, and I've heard the stories, and you got in trouble for how loving you wanted to be at times, how much you wanted to expand the concept of love in the church. It kind of got you in a little bit of trouble. So I was curious how your concept of love has evolved over your long experiences in ministry.
You can hold it? Okay. I have a 20-minute sermon I can give. But really, I would like to say it boils down to learning about love through feelings and decisions and actions. Those are the three categories I would put love in. Love as a feeling. You saw it in the video. A big kiss in the mouth, etc. So that's one of the things that I would think of as eros. In the Bible, it's called eros. But that's not where you stop with love. Love, you have to make a decision every day. You're going to stay in love. For 35 years. I give thanks for the decision. To marry Gretchen. decision I wake up every day thinking about. And when we were talking about community the last few weeks, that's a decision that has been made for communities as well. And that's the kind of love that the New Testament calls storge. There are 8 different words for love in the Greek language, in the Koine Greek. And the third way is action, or agape love. Love for everyone. So when you're driving down the road and there's a person on the side of the road that says, we'll work for money, we'll work for food, you might have a feeling. You have to make a decision if you're going to act on that feeling. And you have to make sure if you take action, that you take action and follow through. That's where love is, and it's not all sweet kiss on the mouth, although that's a good part of it. There's a feeling, there's a decision, there's action taken for all the love we have.
Thank you. Wow. So Arlene, you have extensive experience with mindfulness, and I was thinking about the connection between mindfulness and love. How can we love something if we're not aware of it? And what mindfulness does is it brings us into a space of being more aware and paying more attention. So I'm curious for you how your work with mindfulness has shaped your view of love. And your microphone is right behind you, right there.
So do you want me to put it in front of you?
You can just hold it, yeah.
Okay.
Just rip it off there. There you go.
So that's a great question. I think I can best start to answer that question by understanding mindfulness in general and understanding that my work with mindfulness helped me to pay attention. And especially through the MBSR program, you pay attention to what you're feeling, you pay attention to your thoughts, you pay attention to what's happening in your body. And how it shaped my perception and my understanding of love is basically to say that I don't think back before I started to become very mindful, I really knew what love was. And in many ways, I had to learn that because it wasn't modeled for me very well. So my work with mindfulness really shaped my understanding of love by building it from the ground up, by reshaping what I thought was love, how it felt in my body when there wasn't love, the thoughts that were circling in my mind when it wasn't love, and the feelings that I was having. And instead of placing a linguistic term to that and say that's really love, mindfulness taught me that perhaps there's another way, that all of that combined together really wasn't, that there was something else that was happening as I became more aware. So after the last 10 or 12 years of the practice of insight meditation and MBSR, I came to realize, as I built love from the ground up, that love had a tone to it, that there was a feeling in my body of expansion, of a oneness, that my thoughts that were circling were more of joy and wanting something for someone else. And my feelings sort of coincided with that. So I think the most succinct way to answer that question, Jake, is I think it's a practice every day for myself. But I think it's a practice every day to recognize what's happening in those four components of who I call me and how I receive and express that word that seems to be, in air quotes, love, that we have such a hard time defining. Yeah, I think that's how it's shaped it. I think it shapes it every day for me, because every day is different, and I'm faced with difficult conversations and difficult feelings in myself and old habits that replay through thoughts and whatever, that in many ways, I guess I'll just end and say that much like I have a couple pairs of glasses that I wear. It depends on my mood, right? You know, it could be the black ones or it could be the red ones. You never know. That many days I have to wake up in the morning and choose to see through love, because it's not automatic yet. I hope someday. It's much better. Yeah, that's my answer.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Helga, you lead our oneness group, and I overheard a conversation the other day. Someone was asking you, what is the oneness group? And there are probably people here today who are wondering, what is the oneness group? And I heard you say something like this. You know, we've probably heard that saying, particularly in spiritual circles, that love is all there is, or it's all love. You know, it's all one in love. And I think that what I heard you say is that, you know, your oneness group is an opportunity to actually explore that idea, to take that idea from abstract and to bring it into how do we live that out. And so how do we do that?
Do you want to share?
Or,
Sure.
either way. Yeah.
Okay, how do you live that? Well, I think first you have to claim and know who you are. And for me, I go to the place of oneness, which is non-duality. And when I can actually embrace the idea of non-duality, there's no separation. So I realize the only thing that separates anyone from anything is our own perceptions. What's in our mind, our past histories, because in reality we all have the same inner potential, because that's what they talk about, is life is a potential, and we all have this potential within ourselves. And where life gets challenging is when we have to be in the real world and get challenged, because we are constantly challenged. And what we do with it is where we go with how much can we embrace the idea of oneness. When I was fasting one time, I had a song come through to me, and I just really like to and I'm going to have it right here, just so that normally if I sing it, I'm just going to say it. So, and it was very clear to me, and this came to me 3 years ago, and it starts like this: I am that I am. I am beyond all words. Feelings of love circle round me, for that is what I want to see. Reflections of me. I choose love. I choose peace. I choose joy in all that I do. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. I am. Be with me. Let yourself see. What you are, I am. I am you. You are me. We are free. Free to think and act and say what we know is real. Every day, in every way, defining our truth. Truth is kind and it's clear. It comes from the heart. So let's claim that truth now for eternity.
I wanted to get Bill's guitar and we could have had a little jam session, but what does it mean to love someone that we disagree with or are in conflict with? The harder parts of love. We'll start with Don.
Oh, I thought you were going to let Helga keep going. It's hard to love somebody immediately who has a different opinion or disagrees with you. But I find it's much easier if I take down my expectations and my filters, and I just listen. Still my inner conflicts, my own inner conflicts, and just listen to that person. And listening is a very loving thing to do. Not enough of us get listened to on a daily basis. And so some people store up then the issues that are stirring their heart, and they definitely need to be heard. So that's what my answer is.
Okay. So I think, again, through the lens of awareness, right? I think one of the ways that has helped me is to be aware of what I bring to the conversation, what I bring to the table. So much like what you said, Don, what do you bring in terms of expectations? But there's something that I always bring with me when I'm faced with having to love a difficult person, or is that seek first to understand. And that has held true for me and been a great resource for me in my toolkit of love for a very long time, especially in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, where I find that if I know ahead of time what I'm bringing to the conversation and how I'm trying to frame this person, and I'm aware of the inner thoughts of, no, I am so right, and you are so deluded, or whatever, that the more I'm aware of that, the more I can still that inner voice and to create a blank canvas, per se, for the conversation and for my ability to put on those glasses of love. And then simply by asking questions, I think that's helped me quite a bit, is to seek first to understand and to listen and to meet people where they are. It's hard. It's not easy. It's practice. But I think there are some very well-known tools, especially now, that have really helped me to become better at it, so that I can leave the conversation or leave the encounter without the ickiness, the icky feeling inside that you leave with sometimes.
And I like to try to come from the place of unity rather than being individuals, because we see ourselves and define ourselves by our bodies, our minds, but in reality, I like to go to the core of what's inside each one of us that unites us all. And so love just is. There isn't anything. There was a quote that I wrote. Jean Klein had said, "When there is neither desire nor fear, there is but love." And when we're in a conversation, we have a desire for someone to understand us, or we have a fear that we're not being heard. So if we can go to that place of unity, and it always starts inside each one of us, not what we want from someone else. We have to have that peace and assurance that we are, even if we don't understand everything, we are all experiencing life as it is for each one of us.
there might be some people in here today who might say, I don't feel very much love in my life right now. Maybe they would say, I don't feel very much love for myself right now. Loneliness, conflict. If someone wants to bring more love into their life, into their experience, what is something that people can do to add love into their life?
For me, the way would be to step into a volunteer situation where you can help somebody that's in need. And just get involved in that practice. So make a decision to get involved in the practice, take action. And as you work with people, you'll find you are forgiven for some of the things that you may have been unable to forgive of yourself. And you'll be able to forgive others their little slimy uh-ohs. So, that's what I'd say.
I think the answer to that from my perspective is twofold. I think for someone who's not feeling love in their life, I would ask and wonder, what love are you giving yourself at the time? What are you doing to feed your garden right now? Because I find that the most that we do to feed ourselves, that love is a natural byproduct of the love that you have for yourself to spillage out onto the world. So I would say the first thing would be to sit down with yourself and to, for 5 minutes, if time is an issue, and just see how you're feeding and cultivating your own garden, whether that's taking a walk in nature or reading a scripture or calling a friend or whatever that may be. It's a beginning. And then the second piece of that, I think also, for not feeling love in your life, or perhaps not seeing it with the correct view, is exactly what you said, Don, that I have to agree with, is to get out of yourself a little bit. So I think once you feed yourself in some ways, in self-care, reach out, volunteer, go do something for someone else, no matter what that may be. And it doesn't have to be a large thing. It could be just going to visit someone. It could be just calling up your neighbor or baking cookies for your neighbor. I like to do that because nobody does that anymore, Make a double batch of banana bread and just bring it over to someone else. And I think some of the endorphins, some of the feelings that you get out of giving to others help to feed yourself. And soon love grows and you begin to see there really is love in your life. It just takes that one step.
I know we're not exactly neighbors per se, but I do like cookies, so,
Chocolate chip. Vegan. They're yummy.
Oh, there you go.
Well, St. Francis had said, in giving we receive. So that seems to be the theme. We focus on ourselves when, there's an idea that we have a little self and a big self. And the little self is the what about me, What am I? I'm not getting enough. It's all about me. And then there's the capital self that's whole and complete and full of love at all times. And sometimes when we get caught up in our heads, we really just need to shift down to our hearts and it'll just flow. It might flow in the form of tears. Tears are something I have had to battle with for years because I am very sensitive to everybody and everything. And My kids used to laugh and say, "Mom, this is a commercial. Why are you crying?" But tears allow things to move. And so if tears is what you need to do to release whatever is blocking that love that is who you are, release it and enjoy just being.
Can we share some gratitude for our panel today?